Waking up with that heavy feeling in your legs, a tingling sensation that won't go away, pain that prevents you from walking freely, and someone has probably already told you that this is normal for your age, that you have to accept it, that you just need to take your medication and learn to live with it. But today I want to ask you a different question. What if the problem isn't in your legs? What if it's on your plate? Because in recent years, researchers have begun to map something that conventional medicine has been slow to accept, that certain foods have the ability to act directly on the walls of blood vessels, reducing the inflammation that blocks blood flow in the lower limbs. This isn't a miracle, it's biochemistry. It's the body responding to what you ingest. And what I'm going to show you now isn't the famous foods that every health channel repeats. It's not the olive oil you've heard 1,000 times about. It's not the famous banana because of its potassium. Today I'm going to introduce you to 5 foods that act silently and powerfully on the circulatory system, especially in the legs, and that almost no one associates with this. Before you continue watching, tell me in the comments, where are you watching this from right now? Which city? Which state? I want to know if this content is reaching the people who really need it. As pernas são a parte do corpo mais distante do coração. O sangue precisa percorrer uma distância enorme para chegar aos pés e depois retornar para cima. Esse retorno venoso, o sangue voltando para o coração, depende de válvulas nas veias que funcionam como comportas. Com o tempo, essas válvulas enfraquecem. As paredes dos vasos perdem a elasticidade, o sangue começa a se acumular, e então surgem os sintomas: peso, inchaço, cãibras, dor, formigamento, aquela sensação de que suas pernas estão mortas. Mas aqui está o que poucas pessoas comentam. Esse processo é acelerado por uma inflamação crônica de baixo grau. Uma inflamação silenciosa que reside no corpo de quase todas as pessoas idosas que seguem uma dieta comum. E é essa inflamação que endurece as paredes dos vasos, prejudica a circulação e amplifica todos os sintomas que você sente nas pernas. Os 5 alimentos que vou apresentar a vocês têm uma coisa em comum. Combatem essa inflamação em nível celular, restauram a flexibilidade dos vasos e estimulam o fluxo sanguíneo nas extremidades do corpo, especialmente nas pernas. The first food is beetroot, but not in the way you've already heard about it. Most people know that beetroot is good for the blood. What almost nobody explains is the real mechanism behind it. Beetroot is one of the richest sources of natural inorganic nitrates that exist. When these nitrates enter the body, they are converted into nitric oxide, a molecule that acts directly on the walls of blood vessels, causing them to relax and dilate. This relaxation of the vessels is exactly what the blood needs to circulate better in the legs. It's as if a clogged pipe were widened from the inside. Flow increases, pressure decreases at pooling points, and the tissues of the legs which were suffering from poor oxygenation begin receiving the blood they need again. Research published in cardiovascular medicine journals shows that regular beetroot consumption can reduce resting blood pressure and significantly improve muscle oxygenation. For someone who already has compromised circulation in their legs, this translates directly into less heaviness, less pain, and more willingness to move. The most effective way to consume it is fresh juice, unfiltered, made on the spot. Ideally consumed in the morning, on an empty stomach, or right after waking up when the body is most receptive to absorbing the active compounds. A small amount is already sufficient. Not much is needed for the effect to occur. And here is something almost nobody mentions. Beetroot also contains betalains, which are pigments with intense anti-inflammatory action. In other words, it works on 2 fronts at the same time. It dilates the vessels and reduces the inflammation that was compressing them. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, what city are you from? I want to know where the people who need this information most are watching from. Comment the name of your city right now. It really helps me understand who is on the other side of the screen. The second food is ginger, and I know you've already heard of it. But I bet you haven't heard about this. Most people use ginger thinking about immunity or digestion. Very rarely does anyone explain the effect of ginger on peripheral circulation, which is exactly the circulation of the extremities, the arms, and especially the legs. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols and shogols, which have a documented ability to inhibit platelet aggregation. In practical terms, this means ginger prevents blood platelets from clumping together excessively, which is one of the reasons blood becomes thicker and has difficulty circulating through the smaller vessels in the legs. For someone with leg pain associated with compromised circulation, this is extremely relevant. Because one of the great villains of poor peripheral circulation is exactly this more viscous blood, which cannot easily reach the capillaries of the feet and ankles. In addition, ginger has proven anti-inflammatory action on joints and muscle tissue. Studies show that its active compounds inhibit the same inflammatory pathways as conventional anti-inflammatory drugs, but without the adverse effects those medications cause on the stomach and kidneys of older people. The most effective form of consumption for this purpose is fresh ginger, grated or in pieces, prepared as a warm infusion. Consumed daily in modest amounts, it works cumulatively, and the effect on leg circulation begins to be felt within a few weeks. The third food, and here I need you to pay close attention, is turmeric, but with one specific condition that completely changes its effectiveness. Turmeric alone has very low absorption by the body. Its active compound, curcumin, is eliminated before it even enters the bloodstream in any meaningful amount. This is a well-documented scientific fact that most people who consume turmeric simply don't know. What changes everything is piperine, a compound found in black pepper. When turmeric is consumed together with a small amount of black pepper, the absorption of curcumin increases by up to 2,000%. Yes, 2,000%. This is not an exaggeration. It is published in peer-reviewed scientific literature. And why does this matter specifically for the legs? Because curcumin is one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatories that exist. It acts directly on reducing NF-κB factor, which is a protein that coordinates the inflammatory response in the body. By inhibiting this factor, curcumin reduces inflammation in blood vessels, in the tissues surrounding the leg veins and in the joints of the knees and hips, which frequently contribute to leg pain in older people. Furthermore, studies indicate that curcumin improves endothelial function, which is the health of the inner lining of blood vessels. A healthy endothelium produces more nitric oxide, the same compound that beetroot stimulates. In other words, they work in synergy when consumed regularly. The practical approach is to add a small spoonful of turmeric powder and a pinch of black pepper to a warm preparation with water or plant-based milk. Consumed regularly, the effect on leg pain is progressive and consistent. Tell me in the comments, had you already heard about this combination of turmeric and black pepper? Comment yes or no. I want to know how many people already know this secret and how many are discovering it right now. The fourth food is flaxseed, and here I'm going to talk about an aspect of it that is completely ignored when the subject is circulation. Everyone has already heard that flaxseed is good for the intestines. Some people know it has omega-3. But almost nobody connects flaxseed directly to circulatory health in the legs, and that is a huge mistake. Flaxseed is the richest plant source of alpha-linolenic acid, which is a type of omega-3 that the body converts into anti-inflammatory compounds. But what is less talked about is that it also contains lignans, compounds that have a direct effect on arterial health. Flaxseed lignans have demonstrated in clinical studies the ability to reduce arterial stiffness, and here is the connection to the legs. Stiff arteries pump blood less efficiently to the extremities. When arteries recover some of their elasticity, blood flow to the legs improves in a perceptible way. In addition, flaxseed helps regulate blood lipids, especially LDL cholesterol and triglycerides, which when elevated contribute to thickening of vessel walls and worsen peripheral circulation. One very important technical detail: flaxseed must be consumed ground for the body to absorb the active compounds. The whole seed passes through the digestive system without being utilized, so the ideal is to grind the seeds and store them in the refrigerator to preserve the fatty acids, which are sensitive to heat and light. For someone at 91 years old with circulatory complaints in the legs, ground flaxseed consumed daily represents a simple, affordable nutritional intervention with solid scientific backing. And we arrive at the fifth food, the one I promised would surprise you. and it is the least associated with leg circulatory health when you think about the subject. It is cacao, pure cacao, high concentration, no sugar, not industrialized chocolate, not chocolate powder drinks. Pure cacao powder, or dark chocolate with more than 70% cacao in its composition. Cacao contains a class of compounds called flavonols, specifically epicatechin and catechin, which have one of the most well-documented actions on cardiovascular health in all of functional nutrition. These compounds stimulate the production of nitric oxide in vascular endothelial cells, those cells that line the inside of blood vessels. But what is specific to the legs? Studies conducted with older adults showed that regular consumption of cacao flavonols measurably improves what is called microvascular function, which is circulation in the tiny vessels, the capillaries. These are exactly the vessels that become compromised in the legs of people with poor peripheral circulation. They are what cause the tingling, the sensation of cold legs, the slowness in healing small wounds on the feet. Furthermore, research shows that cacao flavonols have a mild anticoagulant effect, similar to aspirin but without the adverse stomach effects, which contributes to blood flowing with less resistance through the leg vessels. A study conducted by the University of California, San Diego, published in the journal JAMA Internal Medicine, followed older people and found an association between regular consumption of flavanol-rich cacao and reduced risk of cardiovascular events, with direct impact on peripheral vascular health. The ideal way to consume it is pure cacao powder, diluted in warm water or plant-based milk, unsweetened or with a minimal amount of natural sweetener. A small daily amount is already sufficient for the body to consistently receive the active compounds. And here is the most fascinating aspect. Cacao acts on the central nervous system in a way that reduces pain perception. It stimulates the release of endorphins and serotonin, which for someone who lives with chronic leg pain represents not only a circulatory benefit but also direct relief in daily well-being. Now I want to know, which of these 5 foods do you already consume, and which one are you going to start including in your health routine after watching this video? Comment below. Also tell me if you feel leg pain and how long you have been living with it. Your story can help other people going through the same thing. I need to tell you something before we finish. You are 91 years old. You made it here. You have been through decades of life, of changes, of challenges, and you are still standing, seeking information, taking care of your body. That is no small thing. That is extraordinary. And that is exactly why this information needs to reach you. It makes no sense that someone who has been through everything you have been through should spend their final years suffering from leg pain due to lack of nutritional information that has been available in science for years. The 5 foods we looked at today, beetroot, ginger, turmeric with black pepper, ground flaxseed, and pure cacao, are not medications. They are allies of your body. They are substances that your body recognizes, processes, and uses to recover from a chronic inflammatory state that has been building up over decades. They do not replace any medical follow-up, but they work in a way that no medication works, from the root, from the cause. And the best news is that they are accessible. They are real foods. You don't need a prescription. You don't need an expensive supplement. You don't need a procedure. You need consistency. Regular consumption, over time, with patience and with respect for the rhythm of your own body. If this video helped you, share it with someone you know who also suffers from compromised leg circulation. It could be a family member, a friend of the same age, someone from a health group you are part of. This information needs to circulate, just like the blood in your legs. And subscribe to the channel because every week I bring information like this, science-based, aimed at people over 60 who want to live with more quality, more independence, and less pain. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.